So what I would ask these people to do is very quickly introduce themselves, maybe take 3-4 minutes to introduce the big idea and what the status of their company is. And then we'll throw it open. Any questions you want to ask me or any of these people, we'll go on till 6 o'clock. Starting with you, sir, always.
So I'm Shashikant. I'm the founder of a company called Sedimac. Okay, this company builds engine controllers. So engines that you see used in a variety of purposes, generators, tractors, two-wheelers, etc. So huge number of engines being sold in India. India is one of the hubs of small engines in the world. And this company builds engines, controllers such that engines become more efficient, okay, consume less fuel. So one of the major problems that we are addressing is fuel consumption in telecom towers. Okay, so if you just go and Google fuel consumption telecom towers, you'll see a huge number of hits, data on it. Okay, so Indian telecom industry consumes about 2 billion liters of diesel just to keep its towers running, mainly because its towers are not getting access to electricity, and that problem is not going to go away in the rural areas for a long time to come. So you need solutions to make the fuel consumption problem manageable. Okay, so for example, Airtel spends about 1,500 to 2,000 crore a year on just buying diesel. Okay, so our company builds controllers that enable fuel efficiency, and its customers include the major OEMs in India, Mahindra just around the corner, Kirloskar, Tata Motors, and Ashok Leyland, TVS Motors, so several of the big billion-dollar OEMs. That's what we do.
Hi, my name is Deepak. I'm the founder and CEO of Inos Technologies. We run an SMS search engine called SMS Gyan on the short code 55444. It started as a college final year project. I was doing my computer science in Lal Bahadur Shastri College in Kerala. And in 2008, we a bunch of kids want to do something. And what we realized is that a lot of people don't carry internet accessibility most of the time because they have limited internet access because most of them don't have. And we figured out that all the people instead use mobile phones these days. And even they're carrying all these phones which don't have access to internet. So, we thought about SMS being an alternate medium. How about an answer engine which get any information on the go? So the idea is to bridge this gap that is like in India and other emerging markets. I think comparatively in the whole world, there are 70% of people who carries mobile phones these days, and less than 25% use the internet access. And so we bridge this gap. We provide internet access over through SMS. To cut the story short, on a course of 4 years after dropping out of college, we have 120 million users using the service all over the world. We crossed a 1 billion query benchmark last month, and every day we hit around 5 to 10 million queries. And we are nominated for Limca Book of Records for the largest offline search. And so.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Ravi Shankar. I co-founded a company called Nevalis Networks. We are a managed security company based here in Mumbai. We are about 2.5 years old now. What we do is we've seen that the entire transition from connectivity from simple broadband connectivity to 4G is moving very rapidly. Over 1 million Indian offices, SMBs, enterprises are moving to the cloud very rapidly. So we said, how are they going to manage security of the internet? How are the employees going to access internet security? How are they going to protect their assets? It's a big problem in India. There was a survey recently which said India lost last year about $8 billion of productivity and of IT asset time last year. So I think the numbers are going to go multiply significantly over the next few years. And we looked around and say, how many IT experts are there and who's solving the problem? And we saw there were a lot of MNC products which are being sold in India, but there was no really solution. There were not so many IT people who could solve the problem. So we said, okay, we will set up a company to actually address this issue. So we built our own solution from scratch. This is a product designed right here in Mumbai. And we are in version 3.14 of our product right now. And we protect about 30,000 endpoints today. And the fascinating thing about our technology is that we've crunched what are large network boxes and everything else to to bring manageability from the cloud. So the product actually is the size of an iPhone, right? It's just so small, can manage anywhere up to 300 concurrent users in an organization, connects directly up to the cloud, and the whole platform is on SaaS. So it's completely scalable, addresses a lot of customers across all verticals, and it's been doing quite okay right now.
Hi, my name is Arun Dubey. I head the business development at a company called Grey Water. We are into recycling the water which is produced in commercial buildings, real estate, and industrial buildings. Just to put it in perspective, let me pick an example of a city, Mumbai. By year 2021, we are expecting that Mumbai would require 600 million liters of water per day for potable uses. And about 80% of this water would be produced and will move out of the system as sewage. Now, given the current pipeline network which Mumbai has, around 300,000 trucks would be required to transport this water from its source to various locations in Mumbai. That creates a problem. Now, if you look at the solution, a simple answer, a logical answer is you treat the water at source and recycle it back. However, if we consider the kind of technology which is available to do it right now, is basically a plant, the kind of plant you see in around Chembur. It's pretty much like a refinery. It's very complex. It is not a commoditized product. It is a very technical solution from a very conventional point of view. So a couple of us, we came in together. What we decided to do was we decided to create a box on the same philosophy as a DG set, which an end-use consumer can buy. They can install it in their basement, and they can treat the water, whatever sewage is being produced, whatever wastewater is being produced, and they can take the treated water back into the system for various uses, for example, flushing or landscaping. We started operations in October 2010. Till now, we have installed 12 plants and commissioned them, which have been running across India. And hopefully, we are getting a lot of traction in the ground. Given the nature of the industry, this product still requires adoption because its need is not felt by the end-use consumers. So, as Ganesh pointed out, we are trying to scale up, hopefully.
Thanks, guys. Hey, give them a big hand, folks. So, a couple of quick questions, Arun. You mentioned that you're almost breaking new ground. So, I mean, is that a tough one in terms of even convincing people that your service is required in the first place?
Oh, yes.
So, how do you do that?
I don't know. It happens somehow. The nature of industry has been such that the kind of product which we are selling is never thought to be a commodity. End user never ever gives a shit about it. They want the builder or whosoever has sold them the building to do the work. So when we go on to selling this product, we want their buy-in because the incentive systems are different. If a builder has to go for a system, they would go for the cheapest system because in the end they have to sell the building off. However, the end user is someone who harnesses the OPEX and other advantages. So the approach which we usually take is figuring out what are the incentives of each category of segments, the people who are into the decision-making process, and try to elaborate it to them. So no wonders our sales cycles are really, really long, up to 6 months. That's one approach which we take other than just forcing people to buy it.
Sure. And Shashikant, just question to you. I mean, who's your primary customer? Do you sell to the dealer, the end consumer, evangelize it, or to the OEM? How do you really go about getting customers?
We sell to the OEMs, the engine manufacturers. So Mahindra, for example, is one of our major customers. So the OEM validation cycle, it takes a long period of time. You're dealing with big scale businesses and brand that is at risk, etc. So the sales cycle is around a year or two actually. But if you crack it, then you're there for good.
Sure. Deepak, question to you. I mean, you obviously have done a great job because you were telling me that it's not just Indian consumers, but consumers worldwide. So what's been your marketing strategy? How do you get so many millions of people to use your service?
Right. So the main thing is that the good part about India is the largest operator mobile network. Like, we have more than 900 million customers in India itself. So that itself is one of the largest base that we have. And the good thing is that we sit in a sweet spot between the customer facing a consumer problem. And also, it's a business to business point. Like, we work with telecom operators like Bharti Airtel, Vodafone and all. So each operator itself has a huge base. So once we go through them, we sell them as a service. And then they will flavor it as like, Airtel's Easy Search or Vodafone search and so, but the number will remain the same. So 5544, you can all try it right now. The consumer will be charged at a price point from the customer, from the operator, and they will use the promotional bandwidth from their side. And we will get a revenue split. So it's quite easy for us to crack this. But the difficult part that we faced at Friend was that, even though there are a lot of mobile companies in the world, very few get connected with the telco partnerships because they are like a close group of network. We were being fortunate because of the product was innovative. And there was a huge scale huge number of opportunity to scale up. So we made it at that point. And then from India, because of the customers using the product and being the numbers and generating up, we were easy to scale up to the other parts of the world.
And you said you dropped out of college. So
Yeah.
are you a blot on the Kerala 100% literacy?
In fact, we are doing something called Startup Village, which is a
Yeah, of
initiative
course.
we're doing.
We've all heard of Startup
Yeah,
Village. That's
right.
great.
Right. So
So Ravi Shankar, question to you. I mean, you obviously are in a very crowded space because information security is, there must be lots of companies worldwide. So how do you differentiate?
Very simply, the consumer helps us differentiate, and I'll tell you how. Because the Indian consumer moved very fast in the adoption of cloud, and it's really happening very fast. So if you really look at it, the number of users we have on Facebook, the number of users we have on LinkedIn, the amount of downloads that we do on a daily basis on movies and stuff like that in offices is phenomenal. And when I go and talk to the business owner or the business manager, I say, what's your biggest problem today? It's my employee productivity is my problem. So I need somebody to manage security, allow access, but not restrict access. So that's what we do. And we allow that management and protection through a managed firewall and business, which we built completely from the scratch, understanding how the customer behaves. Right, that's the first part. So the customer, actually, two is there was nobody to manage these things. Nobody knew how to set up these networks. There are not so many professionals there in the country. So even if you buy a brand which is imported into the country, you really don't know how to set up these devices. And a lot of the services were actually sold through partners or traditional IT channels where the expertise didn't rise and they didn't exist. So we went in with a completely managed service model, with doing our own platform end to end. And when the first guy actually saw it, most of our customers come from word of mouth. We don't really need to go and hard sell in. We go vertical by vertical. So when we take that vertical, we get 4 or 5 references from the same guy and just go straight through. But India is a street by street execution. And that is something which we can do quite easily being an Indian company. And it gives us the strength to execute that.
Okay, folks, so you have it. You have 4 different entrepreneurs, all successful in their own right, and clearly in very different spaces. So the floor is open to you. Any questions, any comments? Yes, we'll start right at the back there. Can we get a mic to him, please?
Hello, this is Vishwas here. My question is to Arun. Nowadays, there is a lot of focus on LEED certification, platinum rating regarding environmental friendly buildings and everything. So, have you tried to get yourself certified by LEED and market through that strategy?
So, LEED basically certifies a building. It does not certify a manufacturer. However, we do work with a lot of consultants who provide consulting for making a building green. A building or a builder who wants to set up a complex which will go for LEED certification. They hire a consultant who gives them advice about how to go for the lighting system, how to go for the water system. So we do work with them. That's one of our, because they are technically versed people who understand our technology at a very different level than the end consumer. So we do work with a lot of those consultants.
Yeah, please. If anybody else wants to ask questions, just put up your hand. I'm sure we'll get a mic across. There's a person there. Yeah, go ahead.
This is Dr. Akash. This is a question for you. The SMS internet search. The broadband internet, obviously, the penetration is increasing. So what is your future plan, keeping in mind when people may not require, would not have the bandwidth issue? So how have you prepared for that future where people may not want to use your service? with the advent of smartphones and penetration becoming better and the internet becoming better. If you're aware, the TV tower bandwidth frequency is now free to use for internet, and worldwide radio frequencies and TV frequencies are now being used for penetrating bandwidth. It's just a matter of time, probably in the next 1 or 2 years, that you will see a huge bandwidth penetration happening in India. How do you prevent your business model getting affected with that?
So this actually the question that is like, what will you do if SMS gonna die? That's one of the ideal way to say that. And I've been hearing this question right from the day we started. Like, we even heard that the world gonna end today. It never happened. So I don't know.
There's still time. No?
Yeah. So, I mean, the best way to predict your future is to invent it. So we did something which nobody has done that. And we never wanted to make it a commercial business at that particular point. And coming back to the thing that people are actually adopting the internet quite fastly these days. The thing is that, we keep on innovating outside. Like SMS Gyan obviously started as an SMS search engine. Now we provide internet access, like, Facebook update, Twitter update, email, you can check your email over through SMS. And there are a lot of things like, that, the idea way to say is that there are a lot of people who are focused on smartphones these days. I don't want to focus only on smartphones. I really want to make every phone smart. And that's what I'm doing right now. Like, even these dumb phones which carry with no internet access, there are a large number of people. My mom and dad are all these people who are using that kind of phones. And we provided a simple solution. Like, it's not about just the technology adoption. It's about the business model that we cracked. It's also about the usage pattern. Like, people are so addictive in texting that you can't replace it with any other technology as such. So there would be opportunity that we believe in. And even the customer base that we are scaling up every day is itself as a proof for that. Thanks.
I love that line. We want to make every phone smart. I think it's a good one. Yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Chandrasekharan. My question is to Sashikant. I come from the telecom sector, so I'm very keen to know a little more on how exactly your engine controller helps in reducing the consumption, because the bad news in the whole sector for all the service providers is about 10 to 15% pilferage happens at the end point,
right,
which runs into hundreds of crores of rupees for everybody.
Right. So you must have heard of DC-DGs.
Right.
We are the ones who enable DC-DGs. So the basic idea is to run engines at lower speeds at lower loads. Okay. So the DC-DG or the variable speed DG constantly keeps tracking what the best efficiency point is and runs engines at those efficiency points. Okay. And so approximately around 15 to 20% of saving comes through engine efficiency. This does not stop pilferage. The diesel vendors will continue to do that, but they have a lesser thing to skim out of. Okay, so the pie for the diesel vendor goes down, which is something that needs to be grappled with by the telecom tower operators. But essentially, it's engine efficiency solution, and we are the enablers of that engine efficiency solution.
This is a question to Ms. Sashikant. The greatest challenge for the automobile industry is of course, the fuel efficiency. But what is the integration towards the telematics, towards the drivability and the safe driving conditions? How does that play a role in the coming years in India?
Actually, a lot. See, what we work on is the heart of the engine and its efficiency. Okay, telematics has to do with more what you're going to give to the user. Okay, so there are a huge number of companies that are working on that, including the biggies like Continental, etc. In my opinion, once the user starts paying more for frills, this thing is going to explode. Okay, so you're already seeing higher end cars, higher end vehicles, not just cars, incorporating more of this stuff, and it's just going to increase once the consumer is convinced that he's going to pay for it. In India, the large emphasis still is on getting people to start driving cars in the first place. Get the two-wheeler crowd moving to the four-wheeler and get the cycle crowd to the two-wheeler. So that's still happening. Okay, once that sort of thing is over, then you will see probably a rise in the frill section.
Yes.
Question for Shashikant again. Can you just comment on the length of your sales cycles, because you mentioned all these big OEMs and their general attitude towards innovation and what kind of sales cycle length it took.
Yeah, so I should also tell you, because the answer to this question also lies in me being a prof. I'm a prof at IIT Bombay. The sales cycles in OEMs are long for actually a valid reason. Okay, if you have a large market that you already have established, okay, and if you're very wary of putting an untested solution there because it can just completely explode. I mean, just take an example of a two-wheeler manufacturer. There are 14 million two-wheelers made today. Okay, Hero Honda makes a two-wheeler every 5 seconds. Okay, if you have one mistake that you know that is going to occur there, then it's just going to cascade into a major problem with distributed presence all over the place in small villages, etc. All seeing the problem, and the brand is at risk. So there has to be an extended validation, and you would also do that if you were in their shoes. So for this to happen, you need to be a long-term player, okay, and that's where you need credibility to be established right up front. And I think my being a prof sort of indicated that this guy is not going to be there only for the short term. Okay, he's around, and that actually helped cut the sales cycle substantially. But it's about convincing 6 VPs, and you're a startup. You're claiming that you have a solution that none of the big businesses have already done. I mean, this is a consolidated industry, right? So what is it that you bring onto the table? How quickly can you deploy it? What is your reliability? All that needs to be thought through. So that takes time. But at the end, if there is a burning problem and there is a solution, people are going for it. Okay, so you'll have to get to the right entrepreneurial team within the OEMs. There are a few people who have the ability as well as the authority to take those decisions. And if you connect with them, then you will succeed.
Okay, anybody wants a last question? Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
The question is addressed to all 4 of you. Did any of you ever think of quitting leaving your idea behind? And how did you get over it, or what did you do with it?
We had a chat in the previous session where somebody, I think the best entrepreneur is somebody who does not build that safety net. The minute you feel I can always quit, go back to this fancy job, I think you've lost it already. But I'll let them answer. Did you think of quitting, she asks?
I had no other option. I already quitted my college.
Yes.
So
that's the best. So be a dropout, not a professor. Did you think of quitting?
Quitting what? So I've just gotten started, and the business is doing well. And this is part of what I intend to do in India. So that thought has never occurred to me. So yeah, the business is doing fine. So why quit?
Ravi Shankar, are you secure?
Interestingly, I quit a corporate job of 15 years of being a banker. I was so happy to drop my suits, my tie, roll up my sleeves, and actually see real customers and do actually an exciting business, which is, I think, has a great scope in this country. So I'm enjoying myself far more than I would enjoy myself in a corporate job.
Arun?
It's been a ride, so you never know. It's an emotional ride more than the success. You have ups in a day. Within a day, you feel like you're on the top of the world. On the same day, you might feel, oh God, where have I stuck myself into? But that's what I've chosen for, so quitting is not an option, I would say.
Actually, guys, if you really look at the whole economic problem and everything that people talk about, if you look at America, for instance, the most successful parts of America today in terms of absolute economic volatility are Silicon Valley, the whole Raleigh corridor, and Boston. It's all entrepreneurial success. Of course, if you're a Facebook millionaire, that doesn't count, but nevertheless. So I think the opportunity is tremendous. I was just looking at all those wonderful Thai slogans behind you, and there's one there which says, in the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. So I think what we have seen is huge opportunity. Look into those discontinuities, come up with a great idea, and I don't think we'll have any problems of quitting. We'll continue to be successful. So thank you very much for being a wonderful audience.
Thank you, Ganesh.